More than 6 months after Hurricane Irma devastated Barbuda, locals trying to rebuild fear a proposed law change could take the future of the island out of their hands. For more than a century, land in Barbuda has been communally owned, meaning only Barbudans and their ancestors could claim it. But after last week's re-election, Prime Minister Garden Brown says he intends to change that and open up the island to foreign developers, a move he says is needed to properly rebuild. Leslie Thomas is a barrister with the Garden Court Chambers in London and filed an emergency injunction to stop the law from being changed. He joins us this morning. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Good morning.
So tell me, what do Barbudans fear would happen? What's the worst-case scenario if this law is successfully changed?
Well, the worst-case scenario is quite simple. Effectively, land that has been in communal ownership amongst Barbudans for nearly 200 years will be taken away from them. So what the Barbudans fear is the very loss of their land, the very loss of their homelands, where they fish. It will literally destroy their community.
Well, let's paint a little picture. The National Hurricane Center estimates that the damage to Barbuda is between $150 to $300 million US. 6 months after the hurricane, less than half the population has returned. Most are still without water or power. Schools still closed. Tourism is considered to contribute about 16% of the total GDP. So could Garden Brown have a point? Because if not from foreign investment, where do we expect this much-needed investment to come from?
Well, the whole thing is, this is not to say that Barbuda hasn't been devastated by Hurricane Irma. It has. I think Barbudans will be the first to recognise it. But there has been a lot of international aid that has gone to Barbuda in the months following the hurricane. A lot of aid which, quite frankly, at the moment is unaccounted for. So yes, you know, Barbuda and the redevelopment of Barbuda will be burdensome. Nobody's doubting that. But, you know, even if, you know, the island needs to be regenerated, going about it in the way that the Antiguan and Barbudan government are doing it, which is literally, with no consultation, taking the rights of Barbuda, entrenched rights, away from them, is just not the way to do it.
Could you see a compromise position where perhaps there might be a middle ground where foreign direct investment could be partnered with the government to ensure that, yes, there would be development by these massive groups that want to inject tourism dollars into the country, but perhaps there could be a way of partnering with them to ensure the security of those rights, of the entrenched rights, as you call them, of Barbudans?
Well, maybe, but that's, with respect, not the issue. The issue is Barbudans have a right to discuss the future development of their island. When the government just before Christmas in December, decided to change the legislation with absolutely no consultation with Barbudans. In fact, the new Land Act was brought out and had its first reading in Parliament with 1 day's notice, no consultation. You know, this is not the way to seek to have a partnership with the people who live on this island. Remember this, let us not forget that Barbudans and Antiguans, you know, they're in this marriage together since 1981, when the islands became independent from Great Britain. But Antigua has, you know, is a much larger island, has a much larger population, and Barbudans do feel at times like that, you know, they have the poorer deal in this marriage. And it doesn't help if the government brings in legislation with no consultation.
Leslie Thomas, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.